Listen closely, because what I'm about to reveal will change the way you think about attraction forever. And it's not what you've been told before. Most men waste years chasing attention, trying to impress, trying to compete with younger men, thinking youth alone determines desire. But here's the truth that almost no one will admit: younger women aren't drawn to age, money, or looks alone. They are drawn to something far more powerful, far more subtle, and far more attainable than you realize. In this video, I'm going to break down the 4 things older men do that make younger women go absolutely crazy. And I promise you, this isn't advice you've ever heard before. These are not gimmicks. They are not tricks. They are the deep, psychological truths about attraction that most men completely overlook. The moment you understand them, everything changes. You're about to learn why emotional control and calm presence can make you magnetic in ways you've never imagined. You'll discover why living a life with purpose, one that doesn't revolve around anyone else, instantly creates desire. You'll see why speaking with clarity, not charm, not flattery, but raw, honest clarity, makes women feel drawn to you without even realizing it. And you'll uncover why owning your depth, embracing your life experiences, and standing fully in who you are is more attractive than any physical feature, skill, or wealth. By the time you watch this video to the end, you won't just know these secrets. You'll feel them, you'll understand why they work, and you'll be able to apply them in a way that changes your relationships forever. This isn't just about attraction, it's about becoming the kind of man women notice, respect, and cannot resist. Stay with me, because once you grasp this, the way people respond to you will never be the same again. Your perspective is about to shift, your approach is about to evolve, and the results, you're going to be shocked at how natural, effortless, and powerful they feel. When we talk about emotional strength, most people misunderstand it. They imagine dominance, control over others, or a kind of cold detachment. But emotional strength is none of those things. In fact, emotional strength is quiet. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't seek approval. It doesn't rush to be understood. And this is exactly why it has such a profound effect on younger women when it shows up in an older man. Younger women live in a world of constant emotional stimulation. Messages arrive instantly. Reactions are expected immediately. Feelings are amplified, analyzed, shared, and often dramatized. Many of the men around them respond impulsively. They over-text, they over-explain. They take everything personally. They become anxious when energy shifts, and slowly, this creates emotional fatigue. Then an older man enters the picture who does something radically different. He stays calm, not distant, not unavailable, calm. When she speaks, he listens without interrupting. When she challenges him, he doesn't rush to defend himself. When she pulls back, he doesn't panic. When she tests him emotionally, consciously or unconsciously, he doesn't collapse under it. This steadiness is not accidental. It comes from a man who has lived enough life to know that emotions are information, not commands. He understands that not every feeling requires a reaction. Not every silence is a threat. Not every disagreement is a crisis. Psychologically, this does something very powerful. The nervous system responds to stability. When someone remains grounded while others are reactive, they become a reference point, a center, and humans are instinctively drawn to centers of gravity. A younger woman may not be able to articulate it at first, but she feels it. She feels calmer around him. Her breathing slows. Her mind settles. She doesn't feel the need to perform, impress, or protect herself emotionally. And when safety is established at that level, attraction doesn't fade, it deepens. Many men confuse emotional unreactivity with emotional absence. That is a mistake. Emotional absence feels cold and dismissive. Emotional unreactivity feels confident and present. The difference is awareness. An emotionally strong man still feels. He just doesn't allow feelings to hijack his behavior. He doesn't punish with silence. He doesn't reward with desperation. He doesn't mirror chaos back at chaos. And this is where respect is born. Respect doesn't come from being agreeable. It comes from being regulated. A man who can regulate himself communicates something without ever saying it. I am safe to be around because I am safe within myself. Younger women, whether they realize it or not, are constantly scanning for this. Not because they want someone to control them, but because they are tired of emotional volatility. They don't want to manage another adult's moods. They don't want to feel responsible for someone else's self-worth. When an older man doesn't outsource his emotional stability to her reactions, she relaxes, and when she relaxes, curiosity emerges. She starts to wonder why he isn't chasing, why he isn't shaken, why her approval doesn't seem to define his sense of self. That curiosity is the doorway to attraction. There is also a philosophical dimension here that most people miss. Emotional unreactivity is a form of self-respect. It signals that a man values his internal state more than external validation. He is not ruled by impulse. He is not enslaved by approval. He chooses his responses consciously. This choice is deeply masculine in its essence. Not loud masculinity, not performative masculinity, but rooted masculinity. And here is the uncomfortable truth: many men react emotionally because they are afraid of losing attention, losing desire, losing relevance. An older man who has done the inner work understands that chasing emotional security from another person is a losing strategy. It weakens polarity. It dissolves attraction. Instead, he becomes a container. When she is expressive, he remains steady. When she is playful, he engages without trying to impress. When she is uncertain, he does not rush to reassure her at the cost of his own boundaries. This doesn't make her feel neglected. It makes her feel anchored. There is also something subtly seductive about unpredictability that is grounded rather than chaotic. She cannot manipulate his emotions. She cannot easily provoke him. She cannot control him through withdrawal or intensity. And because of that, she begins to respect him on a level that bypasses logic. Respect is the soil where lasting attraction grows. Emotionally reactive men create sparks. Emotionally regulated men create fires. Another important point must be said clearly. Emotional steadiness does not mean emotional suppression. Suppression leads to resentment and eventual explosion. Regulation leads to clarity and choice. An older man who understands this speaks when it matters. He sets boundaries calmly. He addresses issues directly, without accusation or drama. And this again feels rare. Most people either avoid conflict entirely or dive into it recklessly. The man who can stand in discomfort without losing himself becomes magnetic, not because he dominates, but because he leads himself first. This is why younger women often say things like, "I feel safe with him," or "I can be myself around him," or "he doesn't pressure me." These are not compliments about niceness. They are acknowledgments of emotional mastery. And emotional mastery is attractive because it suggests something deeper. It suggests that this man can handle life, that he won't collapse when things get difficult, that he won't turn unpredictable under stress, that he won't make her responsible for regulating him. At a subconscious level, this answers a fundamental question. If I lean into this connection, will I lose myself or will I feel more grounded? With an emotionally steady man, the answer feels clear. The tragedy is that many older men already possess this potential, but they undermine it by trying to prove something. They overtalk, they overpursue, they overreact. And in doing so, they give away the very thing that made them powerful. Attraction is not built by effort alone. It is built by presence. And presence is impossible without emotional regulation. When a man can sit in silence without discomfort, when he can hear uncertainty without fear, when he can hold space without controlling outcomes, he becomes unforgettable. Not because he demanded attention, but because he didn't need it. And this is the quiet truth worth reflecting on. The man who masters his emotions doesn't chase desire. He becomes the place where desire naturally rests. If there is one action to take from this, it is simple but not easy. Start noticing your reactions. Pause before responding. Choose steadiness over impulse. Because the moment you stop letting emotions control you is the moment others begin to feel controlled by something deeper around you. And that is where real attraction begins. One of the most misunderstood ideas in attraction is the belief that availability creates closeness. Many men assume that if they give more time, more attention, more access, they will become more desirable. In reality, the opposite often happens. Desire doesn't grow from being constantly present, it grows from being purposefully present. And this is where older men hold a quiet advantage. When they understand how to use it, a man who has a full life does not need to announce it. You can feel it in how he moves, how he speaks, and how he chooses. His days are already structured. His energy is already invested somewhere meaningful. And because of that, when he gives attention, it feels intentional rather than desperate. Younger women are highly sensitive to this distinction. They can sense when a man's world shrinks the moment they enter it, when his priorities disappear, when his schedule suddenly becomes wide open, when his emotional state starts orbiting their moods and responses. And while that level of focus might feel flattering at first, it quickly becomes heavy. Pressure replaces excitement, obligation replaces curiosity. An older man who has his own life doesn't do this. He doesn't drop everything to prove interest. He doesn't rearrange his identity to be liked. He doesn't make her the center of his emotional universe. And paradoxically, this is what makes him feel more valuable, not less. Psychologically, humans value what feels scarce but stable, not emotionally unavailable, not inconsistent, but anchored elsewhere. When a man has commitments to his work, his craft, his health, his growth, his friendships, he communicates something powerful without words. My life is full, and you are welcome in it, but you are not responsible for filling it. That sentence, even unspoken, changes everything. It removes pressure from her. She no longer feels like she has to entertain him, reassure him, or constantly validate him. She doesn't feel like she's being pulled into someone else's emotional vacuum. Instead, she feels invited into a life that already has momentum. And momentum is attractive. Many younger men, often unknowingly, give off the energy of waiting for replies, waiting for plans, waiting for approval, waiting for clarity. Their lives pause in anticipation, and that pause is felt. It creates imbalance. An older man who understands this doesn't wait for life to happen to him. He continues moving forward regardless of who is watching. If she replies, great. If she doesn't, life still unfolds. His sense of purpose remains intact. This is not indifference. This is self-respect. Philosophically, this speaks to a deeper truth. Meaning must exist independently of desire. When desire becomes the primary source of meaning, it becomes fragile, it becomes anxious, it becomes consuming. But when desire is a complement to an already meaningful life, it becomes lighter, healthier, and far more attractive. Younger women are drawn to this because they are already navigating a world full of expectations and emotional demands. When they encounter a man who does not add to that weight, who does not subtly ask to be managed or reassured, something in them softens. They begin to lean in, not because they are chaste, but because they feel free. Freedom is underrated in attraction. A man with a full life does not need constant reassurance. He does not interpret delayed replies as rejection. He does not need daily contact to feel secure. And because he is secure, his presence feels calm rather than consuming. There is also a quiet confidence that comes from knowing you are choosing someone, not clinging to them. Choice feels very different from need. Choice carries dignity. Need carries urgency. When an older man invites a younger woman into his life, it feels like an offer, not a demand. He is clear about when he is available and when he is not. He doesn't apologize for his responsibilities. He doesn't explain himself excessively. He simply lives in alignment with his values. And this clarity creates polarity. She starts to notice that time with him feels different, not rushed, not chaotic. It feels earned, and when something feels earned, it feels valuable. Another important layer here is boundaries. A man with a full life naturally has boundaries. Not rigid ones, but lived ones. He knows when to say yes and when to say no. He knows when to engage and when to step back. And because these boundaries are not performative, they don't feel manipulative. They feel real. Boundaries communicate self-worth. They say, I respect my time, my energy, and my direction. Younger women, consciously or unconsciously, respond to this because it mirrors something they are often trying to develop themselves. This dynamic also prevents resentment. When a man abandons his life for a woman, resentment eventually follows. Even if he never voices it, it leaks out in subtle ways: passive aggression, neediness, emotional withdrawal. A man who keeps his life intact never puts himself in that position. He gives because he wants to, not because he feels obligated. And this willingness, free of expectation, is deeply attractive. There is also something deeply reassuring about a man whose identity does not depend on romantic success. He doesn't collapse if things don't work out. He doesn't lose his sense of self. He adapts and continues. This resilience signals emotional maturity. It answers an unspoken question many women carry. If this ends, will this man be okay? Or will I be blamed for his unhappiness? A man with a full life answers that question without words. He will be okay. And because of that, she feels safer exploring the connection. The irony is that by not making her the center of his life, he becomes more central in her thoughts. Not because he withholds, but because he remains whole. His absence does not feel like abandonment. It feels like presence elsewhere. And that distinction is crucial. Many men fear that if they are not constantly available, they will be forgotten. But attraction doesn't work that way. What lingers is not constant access, but meaningful presence. A man who lives fully leaves an impression. He has stories, perspectives, passions. His energy is not stagnant, and when he shares time, it feels like a break from routine rather than an obligation. This is why younger women often find themselves drawn to older men who seem busy but not unavailable. There is movement there, direction, substance. And the deeper truth is this: the most attractive thing you can offer someone is not attention. It is an invitation into a life worth joining. If there is one reflection to leave with, it is this: stop building your life around being chosen. Build your life so fully that choosing you feels natural. When your life has direction, attraction follows without force. And when you stop orbiting others, others begin to orbit you. What most men don't realize is that words are powerful, not because of what they say, but because of how they are delivered. Younger women are surrounded by noise, lines, flattery, exaggerated stories, humor that is often a mask for insecurity. They are trained to detect manipulation, even when it is subtle. And when a man tries too hard to impress, to charm, or to persuade, he unknowingly signals need, uncertainty, or desperation. None of these qualities are attractive. What draws attention, fascination, and even obsession is clarity. Clarity is rare in today's world. It is not loud. It is not flashy. It doesn't come from rehearsed lines or stage gestures. Clarity comes from a man who knows who he is, what he wants, and how to express it without fear. When he speaks, he communicates presence. When he listens, he communicates value. He does not seek validation, and he does not apologize for existing fully in the moment. That is magnetic because it is honest, grounded, and unshakable. Most younger men confuse charm with communication. They rely on humor, exaggeration, or cleverness to hold attention. These tools are temporary. They might create a spark, but not a fire. Sparks fade. Fire endures. Fire comes from honesty. Fire comes from the confidence to say what needs to be said at the right time without trying to manipulate the outcome. When an older man speaks with clarity, every word has weight. He does not fill silence with noise. He does not answer every question immediately to prove interest. He does not fear a pause because he understands the rhythm of dialogue and the value of space. And this is why younger women are captivated by him. They feel that his words are deliberate, that they carry intention, that he is not speaking to impress, but to connect. Clarity also communicates boundaries. It communicates self-respect. When a man says what he means, when he expresses discomfort, when he communicates his desires calmly and directly, he establishes a standard. And once a standard exists, attraction grows naturally. Polarity emerges. She recognizes that he is not malleable, not someone to be manipulated or taken for granted. She senses that to be with him requires attention, effort, and authenticity, and these qualities spark fascination. Many men think attraction is about giving in to what the other wants, about mirroring moods, or about saying the right things, but attraction is created through contrast, not compliance. Speaking with clarity establishes contrast. It separates him from the noise. It sets him apart from those who are reactive, insecure, or performative. She feels it intuitively. She senses the difference between desperation and composure, between manipulation and honesty, between uncertainty and self-possession. It is also important to understand that clarity does not mean bluntness or aggression. Speaking clearly is not about dominating a conversation or forcing agreement. It is about stating truth in a manner that is respectful yet firm. It is about communicating needs, desires, and boundaries without fear of rejection or judgment. The man who masters this skill creates attraction without even trying. He is magnetic not because he controls, but because he does not need to be controlled by others' opinions or expectations. Psychologically, this works on multiple levels. Younger women are constantly evaluating emotional safety. They are assessing whether someone is reliable, authentic, and capable of leading themselves. A man who speaks with clarity demonstrates all of these qualities simultaneously. He signals that he can handle complexity, uncertainty, and honesty. She does not need to decode him. She does not need to guess at his intentions. And that removes friction, creating space for desire to grow naturally. Another reason clarity is so powerful is because it conveys confidence without arrogance. A man who knows what he wants and communicates it succinctly is not overcompensating. He is not masking insecurity with charm. His presence is a reflection of inner alignment. Younger women respond to this alignment instinctively. They may not be able to articulate it immediately, but they feel it. They are drawn to it. It commands attention without demanding it. Clarity also protects against the pitfalls of modern dating, where miscommunication and mixed signals are rampant. Most people give half answers, vague assurances, or ambiguous gestures. They hedge, they qualify, they complicate. And in a world where ambiguity has become the norm, a man who communicates clearly feels revolutionary. She notices him because he is different, because he is rare, because his presence does not require constant decoding. It is not just what he says, but also what he does not say. Silence, pauses, and restraint are powerful tools when paired with clarity. A man who does not feel compelled to fill every space with words conveys calm authority. He allows tension and anticipation to exist naturally. He allows curiosity to flourish. He does not over-explain, over-justify, or over-perform. And when she experiences this, the contrast between him and the reactive, insecure, or performative men she has encountered becomes undeniable. Clarity also deepens connection. When a man speaks with precision, he communicates his values, beliefs, and intentions without manipulation. This allows a woman to see him authentically. It allows her to decide if she aligns with him rather than being coerced or seduced into compliance. This creates respect, and respect is a cornerstone of lasting attraction. Without respect, desire may exist briefly, but it cannot thrive. An older man who masters this skill does not need to rely on superficial tactics or fleeting charm. He does not need to compete with younger men who are loud, flashy, or impulsive. His clarity itself is a form of magnetism, a demonstration of inner authority and stability that cannot be replicated by effort alone. It is subtle, yet profound. It signals that he is emotionally mature, self-assured, and capable of handling complexity without being destabilized. It is also important to remember that clarity builds anticipation. By communicating directly yet selectively, he invites interest without forcing it. He allows space for curiosity, intrigue, and desire to grow naturally. She begins to notice patterns, intentions, and consistency. She begins to trust his judgment and respect his boundaries. And in that trust, attraction intensifies. Many men underestimate the power of this principle. They think attraction is about showing more, doing more, or trying harder. But attraction is created through being, not performing. Speaking with clarity is a form of being. It demonstrates a man's alignment with himself. It reflects his self-possession, his confidence, and his ability to navigate life without constant reassurance. And this is irresistibly magnetic. The ultimate lesson here is simple but profound. Stop trying to impress. Stop over-explaining. Stop chasing validation through words. Instead, speak when it matters. Speak honestly. Speak directly. Allow silence to exist without fear. Set boundaries calmly. Express desires without apology. And let your words become a reflection of your inner alignment. When a man does this, he does not need to convince. He does not need to chase. He does not need to perform. Attraction arises naturally because he embodies authenticity, stability, and presence. Younger women respond to this on a level deeper than logic. They are drawn to clarity because it communicates trustworthiness, strength, and grounded masculinity. It bypasses superficial attraction and taps into something far more compelling. If there is one truth to take from this, it is this: words are your vessel, but presence is your power. Speak with clarity, and you do not merely communicate, you magnetize. You do not merely express, you command attention without demanding it. You do not merely exist. You create an aura that others feel and cannot ignore. And in a world full of noise, this is a superpower. When clarity becomes your natural mode, attraction becomes effortless, authentic, and enduring. It is not about tricks or tactics. It is about alignment, honesty, and the courage to be fully yourself. And that is the difference between being noticed temporarily and being unforgettable. Act on this. Cultivate clarity. Speak with purpose. Let your words reflect your inner strength, and watch how everything around you begins to shift. When most men think about attraction, they focus on youth, energy, or appearances. They believe that if they dress younger, talk younger, or mimic behaviors associated with youth, they can compete with younger men. They see age as a limitation rather than a strength, and that, ironically, is exactly where they lose the game. Because attraction is not about pretending to be something you are not. True attraction is about owning what you are. Depth, experience, and wisdom are not liabilities, they are magnets. An older man becomes irresistible not because he tries to be younger, but because he embodies the fullness of his lived experience. Life is not a collection of victories or smooth moments. Life is a series of challenges, failures, lessons, recoveries, and triumphs that shape perspective. Every scar, every story, every moment of resilience becomes part of the aura he carries. And this aura is visible to anyone who is willing to pay attention. Younger women feel it, even if they cannot immediately name it. They sense that he has navigated life with awareness, that he has depth that cannot be learned overnight, and that he brings a perspective few men can offer. Depth is not about being serious all the time or projecting an image of wisdom. Depth is about authenticity. It is about embracing your history, your successes, and your failures without shame or pretense. It is about holding a presence that feels grounded, consistent, and real. When a man does this, he is no longer competing in the arena of fleeting attention. He is operating on a different frequency entirely. One that is subtle, yet impossible to ignore. Many younger men believe they need to impress through exaggeration or performance. They tell stories to appear adventurous, clever, or successful. They try to dazzle through energy or humor. While these tactics may attract momentary attention, They rarely build lasting fascination. What captivates deeply is authenticity, the kind that comes from a man who has lived, learned, and grown. Depth communicates that he is secure, resilient, and self-aware. It tells a woman that this man has faced challenges, overcome obstacles, and still stands fully himself. That kind of stability and confidence cannot be faked, and it cannot be rushed. This is why younger women often gravitate toward older men who have cultivated depth. They may initially be attracted by physical appearance or charisma, but what keeps their attention and what creates a lingering fascination is the richness of the man's presence. They notice the way he thinks, how he handles situations, how he responds to challenges. They notice that he carries himself with dignity, that he is not reactive to minor irritations, that he prioritizes what matters most in life without being distracted by trivialities. Depth also creates an inherent sense of safety, not safety in the sense of control or predictability, but emotional and psychological safety. A man who has lived, learned, and integrated his experiences is not easily rattled. He can engage in difficult conversations without defensiveness. He can express his desires without aggression. He can hold boundaries without guilt. And because of this, a woman feels that she can engage with him fully, emotionally, mentally, and even physically, without the exhausting need to manage or manipulate his reactions. There is also a seductive element in mystery that comes with depth. Depth is layered. It is complex. It cannot be fully understood in a day, a week, or even a month. This complexity creates intrigue. A woman becomes curious because she senses that there is more beneath the surface, that every interaction has subtle lessons, insights, or discoveries waiting to be revealed. This is fundamentally different from the superficial chase created by youth-focused behaviors. Depth is magnetic because it invites exploration. It encourages engagement. It fosters fascination. At a philosophical level, depth reflects alignment. A man who embodies his experiences has reconciled his past with his present. He understands his values and lives in accordance with them. He has clarity about what he will accept and what he will not. This alignment between belief, behavior, and presence is profoundly attractive because it signals integrity. Younger women, consciously or unconsciously, are drawn to men who demonstrate integrity because it promises a stable, authentic, and meaningful connection. Depth also amplifies the effects of the other qualities we have discussed. An older man who is emotionally stable, purpose-driven, and clear in his communication becomes exponentially more magnetic when he also carries depth. It ties all these elements together into a cohesive, compelling presence. Emotional stability is reinforced by life experience. Purpose is illuminated by wisdom. Clarity in communication is amplified by perspective. Depth is the glue that makes all of these qualities not just noticeable, but unforgettable. It is also worth noting that depth is not static. It is a continuous process of growth, reflection, and self-awareness. A man who remains curious about life, who continues to seek understanding, who does not allow complacency to dull his presence, becomes endlessly fascinating. This ongoing pursuit of growth demonstrates that he values himself and his experiences, and it signals that any relationship with him will be dynamic, enriching, and stimulating. Contrast this with younger men who often rely on superficial attributes to attract attention. They focus on appearances, performance, or novelty, but they lack the foundation of integrated experience. This makes them exciting in the short term, but forgettable in the long term. Depth ensures that attraction is sustained, that fascination persists, and that respect is built over time. It creates a magnetic pull that is resilient, not fleeting. Another critical element is the way depth communicates boundaries and standards without needing to announce them. A man who embodies his experiences naturally sets expectations. He is clear about what is acceptable and what is not without making it a performance. He lives according to his principles, and others feel the consistency. This consistency is rare in a world of ambiguity, and it is profoundly attractive. It signals that he can be trusted, that he can lead without controlling, and that he can provide a stable presence in an otherwise chaotic environment. Depth also allows a man to engage with women without the need for manipulation. He does not need to create artificial tension, play games, or rely on trickery. His presence itself is compelling. His stories, perspectives, and reflections naturally draw interest. A younger woman senses that engaging with him is an opportunity for growth, understanding, and connection. This is different from fleeting attraction. It is lasting fascination. Ultimately, the power of depth lies in its authenticity. A man who has faced life fully, embraced his experiences, and integrated them into his being does not need to compete with youth. He does not need to prove himself. He does not need to perform. His authenticity speaks louder than words or actions ever could. Younger women are drawn not to a facade, but to a man who stands fully in his truth, who carries the weight of his experiences gracefully, and who offers a presence that is rare, stable, and deeply magnetic. If there is one lesson to take from this, it is this: do not try to be younger than you are. Do not chase attention through mimicry or performance. Instead, cultivate depth. Embrace your experiences, learn from your failures, grow from your challenges, integrate your wisdom into your daily presence. Stand as a man who is complete, authentic, and grounded, because when you do, attraction follows naturally, fascination follows naturally, respect follows naturally. Younger women are drawn not to age, not to appearance, not to energy alone. They are drawn to the man who owns his depth. And that is the kind of presence that is unforgettable, the kind of presence that does not fade with time, the kind of presence that others notice immediately, respect instinctively, and cannot resist engaging with fully. Own your depth, and you own the power that comes with it. Be the man who does not chase, but who commands presence simply by being fully himself. The world will take notice, and those who are attuned to authenticity will be drawn in naturally, compelled by the gravity of a life truly lived.